Welcome to DNP Part 3. This part is sort of where we're going to get to more collecting of data. It's going to get a little bit more intensive and a little bit more to where you are turning in product every couple weeks. And if you look at the syllabus, there's going to be sort of an assignment every 2 weeks that you're going to have to do. And some of that's going to be starting a database, which I will show you in a later video how to do. And obviously you can always reach out to me during any part of this. You can shoot me an email. If you hit some roadblock or what have you. But also part of this is you start out sort of with a big project, and that is you are planning for implementation success. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but that's sort of the big thing due in the first month, so to speak. And I've gotten some tools that'll kind of help you with that, and I'll make another video following this one that'll give you some tools on how to use it to make a better paper, because that's a lot of your grade. The second one is sort of your reflections, and that's at the very end. In the interim between all those things, I'm going to show you with using SPSS, and you need to buy or get access to SPSS Grad Pack. It's relatively cheap. It's pretty simple and easy to use. It'll be really good for the purposes you have, and it's sort of more intuitive than a lot of other databases. And I'm going to show you again in another video how to set up a database, how to label variables and things like that, and show you some examples of my databases that I've used. And again, privacy is protected because they're taken off the names. Just sort of you have a template of what you can or can't do, and give you some ideas about some of the things, the way you save it. The reason for that is because then you're going to start adding in your data. Every couple of weeks you're going to turn in a database with more subjects on it, and that's sort of a way to sort of keep everybody on board, and to make sure by the end of when you start your reflection project and your paper, at the end, you've got data and you can move to the next part, which is part 4, which will start in January. So some of these things, they're not busy work, they're ways so that I make sure you're putting in information and data, and that you've got something ready to go by the time you get to the very end of this project and this class, and then ready to go for the next one. We want to really keep you on board and focused, and that's one of the reasons for this approach. So again, you can reach out to me at any time if you hit a roadblock, and that's actually one of the discussion questions. One of the weeks when we do turn in a database is, what roadblocks are you having? How have you overcome them? Things like that. But certainly you don't have to wait till then. You can reach out to me. I can always give you help. That's what I'm here for, is to help you all along the way. A lot of you have really different projects, so there's sort of not one solution that fits all. There's not one template that fits all kind of approach. So that's something to keep in mind too. I will talk about and make reference to when I'm making databases, things, for instance, that some of you are using pre and post surveys, and each one of those survey questions has to be a variable that's labeled, and I'll show you how that's done in some of the databases that I show you. Some of you are just sort of looking at pre and post data that's collected through electronic health records, and you may have to print that out and then put that in a different way. So those are the kinds of things you might be hitting. Getting access to your data, although it seemed really, really easy, may not be as easy once you get into it. And that's another thing I can help you with. But I specifically in this class, I'm going to really require you, especially once you get the planning for implementation success in the first month, I'm really going to require you every 2 weeks to turn something into me. And again, it's not because I want to punish you or anything like that. It's just to keep you on track and to make sure that we don't get into November and you don't have most of your subjects enrolled or your data in the database, okay? And it's a nice way also to teach you about data and things like that. Now, if I see people along the way are having issues or hitting roadblocks, I'll post another video on how to address that, or I'll send out an email. So please look for constant communication with me. That's why I'm here, to help you. And again, if everybody's having the same problems, or 5 or 6 of you, I'll do a video if I can, if I think that'll help. I'll find a tool. Again, I'm here to help you. I'm trying to make sure that you get that constant contact and communication with me, so that we're not behind the 8 ball once we get further out, and so we can really make the best of your projects. Everybody's going to hit roadblocks, all right? You may not be able to get access to the data you want. You may not be able to get as many subjects as you want. You may be able to get too many subjects of one type. This is research. There's no perfect research. They all have issues and problems, and that's one of the reasons why we did the validity issues in the very beginning last semester, is because now you know some of them, and you'll see some of them when you are starting this project. Another thing to keep in mind, and one of the things I'm going to ask you to do as a query discussion point later, is when you're putting in your data, one of the best parts about that, and that's why I'm one of the reasons I'm doing the database construction and making you put in the data and turn it in all the time. One of the very best parts about that is as you're doing that, you're sort of getting a story. And you're looking at data not as numbers, not as a collection of pre and post test surveys, and not of input and output, which are all nice abstract concepts, independent variable, dependent variable, control variable, alternative explanations, all those kinds of weird concepts that are abstract to some people. When you're actually putting in the data and you're seeing that these numbers are telling you a story, you get a different understanding of data, and you can talk about it in a different way, and you see it as more such as numbers that equal words that are telling you what's going on. Again, one of the things I want to keep in mind when you're doing this whole project is that you do want to get as many subjects as you can. That kind of thing really helps. But even if we find that whatever intervention you did or whatever you looked at, things that you thought would have an impact didn't, or they have a different kind of impact, those findings are important. This is how, like the first class I taught all of you, we're building on the shoulders of other people. And sometimes when we try to do that, we find out that, nope, this doesn't work. Yes, this works. This works if we do this with this population. And those are all important things to know so that we can sort of guide our focus and really help patient outcomes, help educate the educators, help use resources in the most beneficial way, see where we should put emphasis, see where we shouldn't. So these things are all really, really important, and they're helping you tell a story, and I really want you to sort of keep that in mind when we're putting in the data and when we're collecting the data. Not that you want to make sure it tells a certain kind of story, but you want to make sure that it reflects the story that's actually going on, and that's obviously an important story and important for all of us to know so that we can make better outcomes for patients, use our resources more efficiently, make sure we're doing the right interventions for the right people at the right time to get better outcomes, and so that everyone can live healthier and happier lives and live to their full potential, health-wise and in society.